What's going on? Welcome back to another less than 5-minute gear review, and in this video we're going to be going over the HSGI dump pouch. Now I have the version 1, which is the Velcro system. They no longer sell this, but you do have the newer ones, and they're called the magnet dump pouch version 2. There's a Molle version and a belt version, so depending on how you want to set things up and configure everything, you do have some options, but I would highly recommend just going with the Molle version because you can set this up for any belt system when it comes down to it. I'll get more in depth in that in a sec, but I want to talk about a few other things before I get there. So this pouch is going to cost you about 50 bucks. Now it is probably one of the more expensive dump pouches on the market, but I definitely think it is worth it, and here's why. You have this entire mesh dump pouch pocket that you can throw almost anything in. It's not too big, but it's not too small. You have plenty of space to be able to throw multiple magazines, water bottles, Nalgene bottles, canteens, mission essential equipment, admin supplies, whatever the case may be. You have a lot of space to be able to put a lot of things in here. So I would highly recommend taking a look at it just for that reason. In conjunction with that, when it comes to this mesh, everything's going to fall right out of it. So you don't have to worry about water getting held up in here. You don't have to worry about dirt and debris and sand and all that getting stuck in your dump pouch. It's just going to fall right through it. So when looking at dump pouches, I would highly recommend looking at mesh dump pouches over your solid dump pouches, just because I do think they perform a lot better when it comes to just getting all that dirt and debris and everything out. So with that said, when it comes to the construction of how this thing's actually put together, aside from the mesh pocket, you do have a little bit of cordura on the backside for your Molle system, but when it comes to the opening of this dump pouch, you have this tubing that runs through the entire exterior of the opening that goes all the way around, and then for the opening itself. With this opening, that tubing will sometimes naturally just fall back into place and close right up. Sometimes it'll stay open like it is right now. I've had this open for so long that it just has kind of formed itself in that position to where it just kind of stays open constantly. With that said though, this thing does probably a better job when it comes to retaining magazines and equipment and anything that you put in this over almost any single dump pouch that I ran in the past. Those completely open top dump pouches, I've had issues with them just tossing my mags or water bottles or whatever all over the place when I'm really running and gunning and getting after it on a flat range, where this does a really good job of holding everything in place and it's not going to come out. The T-Rex arms I think does a really good job when comparing it to this, but I think this definitely has the upper hand when it comes down to it. With that said, when it comes to how you can set this up and roll this all together, you can roll it up to where it's elongated, and you can stow it just like that on the back of your belt, or you can set this up, and I'll try and do it because I've had this open for so long it doesn't really like to cooperate on the whole folding side, but you can fold this up to where you can get a pretty nice tight profile, so that way it's not in the way of anything else. So like so, I mean, it isn't super neat, but you can roll this up pretty tight so that way it doesn't take up a whole lot of space on the back of your belt. Now I just leave mine open all the time, so it does stay open, and I just have this hanging on the back of my belt. So that's what it looks like. That's how you can kind of configure it a couple different ways if you want to stow it. On the back side, you do have your Molle. Now I highly recommend going with the Molle system over the belt system, because with this you can configure this Molle to be adjusted to a couple different size belts that are out there if you want to just run this on a belt, and then you can configure this to any Molle belt system that's out there. So I would recommend going with the Molle system. I think it's a better setup. It gives you a little bit more adaptability, so that way you only have to buy one instead of two, but that's completely up to you when it comes down to it. And so with that being said, that is the HSGI magnet dump pouch version 2, or just the HSGI dump pouch. So take that into consideration. I do think and have to say this is one of the best on the market when it comes down to it. So if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment. We'll answer any questions that you have. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.